Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Weiss. I'm the growth director of The Bench. I'm here today. I'm very privileged to be here today with Christoph Hoffmann, the founder and co-CEO of the wonderful product 25 Hours. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about branded residencies, but for those that don't know, Christoph, tell us a little bit about 25 Hours, what it actually represents as a product. And how you would define, I guess, the actual ethos behind it.
Okay. Look, we started, when I say we, I started 25 hours about, I have to say 20 years ago with three wonderful business partners, a real startup. We said, I always worked in hotels. I always loved the individuality of the, legendary old hotels, which, were naturally telling a story. So when we found each other through different coincidences, we said, let's try to reinvent the hospitality market. At that point of the day, it was more like in a mid-scale market. We wanted to create something affordable, but yet with a big story behind. So we had the opportunity to start off in Hamburg and in Frankfurt, and everything was really focused on how can we surprise people? How can we give people the feeling that if they come to that place, that it's an experience, that it's like inspiration, that gastronomy is not just a hotel restaurant, but something very special within the hotels. And when we finished our first hotel in Hamburg and just afterwards in Frankfurt, we've been surprised to see how successful it was. It was like just a small hotel. And then we've been, of course, motivated to continue that venture. And then we probably were in the right phase as well. Back then, it was like 2006, 2007. There was not much going on in the lifestyle segment. And then we continued in cities like again, Hamburg, Berlin, Frankfurt. We continued in Vienna, in Zurich, and each hotel was very different from the other one. So we had one claim saying, you know one, you know none. And the idea was that each time when we start a new hotel project, we want to start from scratch and don't give a shit about standardization, but more about individualization.
Okay.
Design still plays a very important role, of course, but we never called ourselves a design hotel. So yeah, that's like a little bit wrapped up what we've started with.
So I've been to the 25 Hours here, and I realize now Berlin, I think, as well. They're very unique experiences and so on. So where have you got your footprint now? What's the complete portfolio look like now?
Well, I mean, we have places now. I have to mention quickly that in 2015, 16, we decided together with Accor to collaborate. So we started a partnership in which we sold 30% of our shares back then, with the aim to sell everything eventually to Accor. And with that and a few other purchases Accor did, Ennismore has been created, a wonderful lifestyle branch of Accor now. And during that path, we've been growing now to 18 hotels altogether, from Paris to Sydney, from Hamburg to Zurich. We have a property in Florence. We are here in Dubai. We just opened Jakarta. So it became a very global brand. And what we more and more figured out was that the aim of creating spaces and also social spaces led into something which you can very well see here in Dubai. It became probably one of the hubs of, people like the creative crowd, I would say, from Dubai. People work there, they play, they spend time at the hotel. It's not formal, but it's like a very relaxed way of experiencing a hotel. And I think we should dive deeper on that, because what I can see in the hospitality world is that, or not only in the hospitality world, but since things become so digital, there's also a strong aim of people to become more analog, and hotels could play that role more often. And I think 25 Hours is pretty good in offering spaces which are more real spaces, where you can meet people, where you can communicate in a different way.
So since Core has come along, it's sort of good growth into 25 products. What does the pipeline look like at the moment? And tell us a little bit about any innovations that you have coming up.
Well, the pipeline is much stronger than in Europe. In Europe, we are, I wouldn't say struggling to find projects, but it's slowed down pretty much. We have a few projects on hold because of the real estate market as well. But here in the Middle East, it's really, really interesting. We have projects in Cairo, in Jeddah, in Khobar. We do our first residence project, which we call differently. We can talk about it later. We hopefully will have a few more projects in Asia, such as in Bangkok. Having the hotel now in Sydney for sure will help us to have a few more projects in the Pacific region.
Wow.
But the strongest hub right now is for sure the Middle East. We have one project, it's still not kicking off, but I hope it's going to kick off soon in New York. So that would be a total different market in the US. So
the partnership is really paying off there.
Absolutely, yes. Footprint. No, we would not have been able to grow globally without the support of Accor and Ennismore.
So tell us a little bit about that residencies piece and what are you doing exactly with that? Tell us a bit more.
So after we finished Dubai and 25 hours in Dubai became a big success on the market, we've been asked to do a second Dubai 25 hours residence. But it was not right next door to the hotel, which normally is the case and which makes life much easier because then you can, make use of the public spaces of the hotel and the services and everything. But we are a little not far away. We're downtown Dubai in a very, very good location. It's going to be a very high tower, 80-something floors.
Wow.
But when we've been approached, we said, listen, if we do a resi, it has to be a little bit different than the typical branded residences. We wanted to make sure that the space is very much about connectivity between people, between humans.
Yeah.
How can we create a social hub in a branded residence? Because normally that's not the case.
I was going to challenge this because, sorry to interrupt, because the branded residency feels to me, listening to Nick Canby, so on how exclusive and how hideaway. So what is actually branded residency? What defines a branded residency?
Yeah, well, but I think what Mick said is totally right, especially for the luxury segment. And I'm sure and he knows better than I do, but there's a market for exclusivity, for private residences, and also for, having being a bit secluded from the rest. But that's not 25 hours. No. 25 hours is a different brand. We are in a different segment. And this is why we were trying to figure out how can we create a branded residence product which is different from the typical. We call it Heimat. 25 hours was born in Germany, and Heimat is a very special word, I would say. If you would translate one by one, it would mean home. But it means much more. Heimat is a feeling as well. Heimat is something when you smell your favorite dish your mother cooked 30 years ago. I don't know how old you are. Or it's probably, your favorite place to go when you're on vacation. It's comfort and it's belongingness, it's security, and it can be in very different places. So it's not a place, it's a feeling. And this is what we wanted to dive deeper on, to say, how can we create a space which gives you the feeling of being at home, far away from where you are, and what are these drivers? And it's still it's about human contact, and that's what we are trying to create with the product.
So if you've got on your hand, you see it as a branded residencies or your residencies as a way of building home community.
Yeah.
Candy over here is, building private exclusivity. What defines a branded residency product? What are the key elements? Is it the fact that they're privately sold? Is it the finance side of this? Or where are we going with branded residency? Where is it, how do we define it?
If I would speak about where the 25 hours concept of a branded residence could go to, I think it could become a new niche of the market where you combine the idea of creating very buzzing spaces, but at the same time, on the upper levels, you have your own privacy and you have your own individuality of the space, but you can have access to wherever you want to go. Do we have a community kitchen where, let's say, we would have like two different apartments, say, hey, Matt, why don't we meet and
space where you
cook together? Or why don't we get together, maybe even through apps and digital means? We have a paddle tennis court. Why don't we?
Told me already.
Why don't we meet for playing paddle tennis? But we need 2 more people. Let's see who is available in the tower. And this is something which I would love to combine privacy, because I want to have my own private space and also safety and everything, but I want to connect to those people who I have something in common, namely being at the 25 hours Heimat, and that's something I think we can dive much deeper, and we have so many means to create this through, as I have mentioned before, through digital means, but also of how to connect people on an analog basis. So if we would have those 2 apartments, I would like to find you and say, let's play paddle tennis together.
We were talking before about brands like the Chelsea Football Club going into this space, right?
Or Bugatti or Mercedes. When I arrive at Dubai airport,
on a personal level, I'm not sure I get that. But obviously there is a customer that does and buys into it. What's your feeling on the journey of this, and where does it go? And
I think it's a very, very interesting market. As far as I can judge, also back in Europe, there will be more and more, or I see more and more people who want to live a bit more flexible, want to, at some point of their life, maybe don't want to depend on their big house. I'm talking, of course, about an upscale market of people who can afford doing all those things. But I think people are longing for more flexibility. And the idea of having, residences, let's talk about the branded part later, is quite interesting, because you're more flexible where to live. Maybe you have even 2 or 3 spaces to live. Can I get older like that? I'm involved as a shareholder in a company called Embassies of the Good Living. And this is perhaps another way of branded residences where it's kind of a club where you can go into different cities in the future. We're still in the startup mode and we have like just one project opening up, but it tells me a little bit about what's going on in the market. Namely, people who, the children are gone. I have a big house. I can sell it. Where do I want to spend my time in the future? That's probably one important part of the market of residences. And where does the future go? I think there's a big demand for it in different cities. Does every brand have to get involved in those branded residences? And how much concept and content is there if you branded Mercedes or Bugatti or the Chelsea Football Club? I think if you are serious about a branded residence, it should be also filled with concept and content and a story behind. A brand is nothing else but a story. And I on a long-term basis, I don't believe and I don't take it seriously if everything is branded. So why should you not only talk about the fact that it makes sense to have a place in a nice city, which is your residence, and the brand makes only sense if it's filled with content. That's my personal point of view.
So coming back to Heimat then, first one here in the UAE. Is it going to stay here, or is this another testing ground for other markets? Are you going to start, move into more emerging markets? And with that, emerging markets, what elements are needed to make it work in a startup market?
No. For us, it was totally clear that Dubai was only the kickoff. And of course, Dubai is probably one of the best places to kick off the new project and test it. Exactly. And we're about to sign a few more Heimat projects right now. We're looking into Cairo and into other places also here in the Middle East, but also beyond. And I think that idea of Heimat residences, 25 hours, can work very well if we are careful of how we create that product.
The added brand and the experience, is this an investment or is it a lifestyle type of purchase for people that get involved in this? What do you think are the drivers that sit behind these types of investments?
Well, first and foremost, I'm very confident that it's a good investment for the time being, as long as the market is not, overdoing it.
Yeah.
But as we have explored earlier, I think there's a big market, a global market of people who are interested in doing this.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, it's always about how well curated is the product. Maybe lifestyle would be the right terminology to make it successful. I'm not a big fan of that word because it's so shallow, but let's say if you would be able to really create products which are really filled with experience, concepts, and content, then I think it can be highly successful.
Well, thank you, Christoph. I won't keep you any longer from the Branded Residency Forum that's going to be taking place here. You're probably going to have to jump up on stage. Final question, obviously, about your experience here at FHS this week. What does it tell you about the current market? What sort of takeaways have you had from the event here? And sort of give us a general feel of, I guess, the flavour of the 2 or 3 days that you've had here, and whether or not that gives you any sort of new ideas or thinking about the market.
First of all, it's always great to see, or not great, but it's interesting to see how the market really shifts into the Middle East, and that Dubai becomes more and more really the center of what we just discussed. And it's not only branded residences, it's of course the overall thing of hospitality, tourism, and that dynamic which is happening here. It's really interesting to see, especially if you live in Europe, where we are in a totally different situation right now. I'm still a big fan of Europe, and I'm a strong believer that Europe will play a vital role also in the future, maybe a different one, but it's interesting to see how energetic a market can become, such as the one in Dubai. And FHS is a good, reflects very well what's going on here. And especially the discussions I was listening to about branded residences, the pros and cons and everything. It was really inspirational for me.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us and taking your time to see us today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.